2022 has honestly been the most crazy year I've seen in wrestling in a while. Most of this is due to what hell is happening outside of the ring. You guys may remember this video I did where I was talking about how 2022 is crazy. I focus more on outside the ring activities. I purposely did that because of how wild the year was. This time around, I wanted to talk about WWE in general for 2022. I want to talk about what happened, this and that. And obviously, I'm not going to be mentioning everything because that would be redundant. It would be unnecessary. But I wanted to look back on the year once again and see how things were from January all the way up to right now. I was going to do a WWE and AEW and some other stuff. We're going to mix them in. I was very confused. I even wrote some of the scripts and it just looked odd. I was very confused by it and I thought, you know, let's just do AEW next week. Maybe we'll do NXT if you guys really want it. But AEW, I'll probably do it next week because winter is coming. I think it'd be better if we wait. So I thought, let's go with WWE now. Before this video starts, I'd like to deliver a message to our sponsor, the Ridge Wallet. I've personally held this wallet for 2 years now. It's one of the most simple things in my life. Anything you want, the cards comes out like that, the money comes out like that. It's seamless, light, unlike my old wallet, which was worn out to the point where it became a problem. This holds up to 12 cards and even cash, plus there's multiple colors for you to select, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. Each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty and they have over 50,000 5-star reviews, but wait, there's more, because I not only have a Ridge Wallet, I also have the key case. Ironically, I've had a key problem recently. I couldn't maintain the keys well, so that's where the key case comes in. It provides a safe and secure place for my keys and allows me to go on with my day without worrying about losing my keys. Get the best offer with link ridge.com/premier. That's ridge.com/premier. And right now you can save up to 40% through December 22nd. Okay, kicking off the year was day one. We got to see the Migos, RIP Takeoff, reunite with Randy Orton. The image is classic. This image of Randy Orton with the Migos is timeless. We got to see them once again with the Apex Predator in Atlanta. That's nice and all, but the most shocking thing that happened at the show was the main event. It changed the complexion of 2022 in many ways. Roman Reigns was out with COVID. He couldn't compete, so Brock Lesnar was added to the WWE title match. Big E's run wasn't all that at the time, and it was clear that it was going to end. We just didn't think it would be Brock Lesnar who would end it. So why did he win it? Because he's a box office draw. I guess it's like, oh, we have to put on a show, and if Brock Lesnar's going to compete, he's got to win. But another reason is that they considered unifying the titles, and that idea was slowly materializing. With the Royal Rumble coming up, Roman needed an opponent, and initially he was set to face Jeff Hardy, but Hardy literally walked out. He had beaten everyone on SmackDown, so somebody from Raw had to visit. Seth Rollins. Rollins as the Joker opponent for Reigns was great. They had a long and storied history together, and unlike a couple of Roman's title defenses at this point, Rollins gave off an unpredictable vibe. At the time, I had him as the winner, but then again, I'm delusional. Their storyline basically portrayed Roman as the babyface. His brother was bucking him psychologically, the likes he's never seen before, and the mind games clearly got to the champion, and by the time of their title match, it only got worse because he wore the literal image of the old Brotherhood. The same Brotherhood that Rollins smashed with a steel chair. The Rumble match was awesome and is a candidate for match of the year for WWE. The problem though comes down to the finish because it was an awkward situation. They had Roman lose it after his former brother refused to quit, but it also left the door open for a rematch down the line and showed that even though Roman had this long-ass run, he was insecure. I liked it, but man, I was hoping they'd follow up at WrestleMania. Later that night was the Women's Royal Rumble, and at the moment, I couldn't help but think that it was unmemorable. Like, just thinking about it now, it's not really that memorable. Melina was a fine addition. Sasha had everybody down bad on timeline, but the two big stories to come from this match were the Forbidden Door and Ronda Rousey. Mickie James' appearance at the Royal Rumble with the Impact Women's Championship was very weird. It wouldn't feel the same if she came out on AEW, but WWE isn't known as a company that promotes others. But she came out with the title and it was a sight. As for Ronda Rousey, her predictable return meant she had to win the Royal Rumble, but unlike her last run, this one didn't have the best of starts because she cut the zero-effort promo that sounds like she's reading some paper. Then there was the Men's Royal Rumble, one of the worst Rumbles in recent memory. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know, something nice about it. Nah, it was bad. The Rumble felt awkward and the pacing was very bad, and it also didn't help that the result at the end was Brock Lesnar standing tall after losing his title to Bobby Lashley early on by Roman Reigns. We were thinking about the build. Oh, AJ Styles is winning. Maybe Riddle. And that's just one of the problems. You know, that's just one of the problems. The result. For 3/4 of the match, though, the Rumble felt very insignificant, especially after AJ Styles was eliminated. It got so damn boring, and to make matters worse, one of the best performers was Bad Bunny. Like, I love Bad Bunny. I could talk about him the entire video here. But when he's one of the best in the Rumble, it basically shows that it sucks. Not knocking him down, but it reflects badly on the Royal Rumble when he's the most entertaining part of it. Then Shane McMahon made a weird return at number 28 and had a lot of heat in the back for allegedly disrupting the Rumble match. The reason why I say allegedly is because, in my opinion, it seems out of character for him. But I don't know him personally. It just seems odd for him to try to make himself look good in the year of 2022. Most random time. Like, why wasn't he like this a few years ago? It also came down to a moment where Shane's music played when Orton was supposed to enter. Or Shane won number 29 when Orton was like, I ain't going out till Here Comes the Money. He ended up being kicked out of WWE that week, which is crazy. To top it all off, Brock Lesnar returned and dropped everybody in sight, including Riddle, Bad Bunny, Shane himself, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre to win it all. It was so damn obvious at this point. Like, why would Brock Lesnar have to enter the Rumble when he's obviously got to say the two words that start with T and S to get a match? What are those words? Title shot. I know Randy Orton won the Rumble twice, but I personally think he was a better choice to win, especially because it was in his hometown. Riddle's also a name that comes to mind, but it was Lesnar. This was definitely one of the worst Royal Rumbles. It was disjointed, predictable, and did nothing for nobody. February saw Lita return in Saudi Arabia of all places and face Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. It was no doubt one of her best matches in her career and gave her proper closure after her original departure. Becky at the time was very outlandish with her outfits, or was slowly becoming that, and I liked her character work at the time because it wasn't just heel version of the man, it was in a completely different direction. Her next challenger ended up being Bianca Belair. Her shocking loss at SummerSlam made everyone believe she was buried, but it was a slow climb up to this point, and all they had to do was stick the landing. As for Ronda Rousey, she had this forced feud with Charlotte, who I believe was initially set to face Sasha Banks. The problem with this was that at the end of the day, Charlotte was Charlotte. She didn't change her character at all. Her promos were the same, but she had a great ring presence. That's one place you can't talk bad about her. On her day, she's one of the very best. It's just the Ronda feud felt like zero effort. Ronda was cutting these boring-ass promos, I'll have you sleeping, then she disappears. The mid-card scene was very different to what we were used to. Finn Balor and Ricochet were US and Intercontinental champions. It was crazy, especially seeing as Balor basically disappeared towards the end of the year and Ricochet was the biggest jobber. But then they went on to have very lackluster runs. Ricochet's, though, was much better, I'd say. Balor, though, was the worst US champion in recent memory. Every week he looked like an idiot and you'd be thinking it was leading to the Demon returning, but then he was left off the WrestleMania card. And that's the same thing with Ricochet, who was booked a bit better. It really felt wrong at the time to see these two not on the card, because at the end of the day, I don't care if it's Omos, Veer. If you're the IC and US champion, you have to be at WrestleMania. It doesn't matter who you are. Higher up on the card, Brock Lesnar decided to become what I would call the part-time final boss. He entered the Elimination Chamber. His performance was fun, and it would have been wrong if he never competed in the match, but then he won the WWE title after killing Austin Theory. I had AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley for the title before the Rumble. Now it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. The match of all matches to unify the titles. So it was like, okay, we got to go through it again. But there was a sense of optimism for this one. The moment Roman called Brock a farm boy at the contract signing and Lesnar started destroying his security, I was like, damn, this build is going to be good. And it was. It was the best build to a match for WrestleMania. It had a sense of being the grand finale to this feud, which wasn't as good as WWE thought it was. Lesnar's out here in vehicles going after the Bloodline and Paul Heyman. It was ridiculous. On the other side, Edge randomly turned heel to start a feud with AJ Styles. Personally, when Edge returned, I preferred not to see him as a heel. I liked how they gave that chapter of his career closure. He's like, oh, I regret my actions, this and that. But they did it again, and he changed his look a bit. And of course, the theme song. Why the theme song? Well, I guess because on this day, Metalingus is too damn exciting and will get the fans cheering him. It was an old school idea. Logan Paul made a random appearance in WWE once again. He was set to team up with The Miz. It was one of the most random things because I remember this guy from Vine and he's out here teaming up with The Miz. The funniest part is that on his first night, he washed Dominic, who was just boring at the time. Logan Paul, the guy who came from a whole different area, was better than him in my personal opinion. Well, not in my personal opinion, that's the general opinion, right? The Raw Tag Team division was really good at the time as well. Alpha Academy, Rollins and KO. RK Bro had the show on lockdown. Any combination between these men is good, but for Seth Rollins, he had to aim a bit higher because he was left off the WrestleMania card. Why would a star of his stature be missing from WrestleMania? I don't know, but we all had an idea of who his opponent was. All we had to do was wait and see. The teasers were starting to get irritating because, well, it was getting hyped up, this and that. We were eager to see him. And the Raw in Jacksonville was expected to be the venue where said person was debuting, but he didn't, and the teasers remained until the day of the show. Of course, the man I'm referring to is Cody Rhodes. Rhodes' time in AEW was shockingly coming to an end, and he wanted to sign with WWE. It already made 2022 one of the craziest years in wrestling, because this man was never expected to have left AEW for WWE, especially at this time. In other places, Stone Cold was set to make a return. See? Crazy year. After 19 years, he wanted to come back and do it one more time. This WrestleMania was set up to be one of the most stacked in recent memory, and it was exactly that. The show, I'd say, delivered in general. Night 2 was a bit but let's talk about it. Logan Paul put on a performance that brought shame to Dominic Mysterio and showed that he just gets it. Bianca Belair had a classic with Becky Lynch, a match that I felt was the best from those entire 2 nights. And it was all about the intrigue and whether or not she'd actually win it, and the match was well laid out. But she did it. She won the title, and it provided one hell of a culmination to the story that began at SummerSlam. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes was magical. That entrance of Cody with wrestling has more than one royal family was special. The entire crowd was following along, and not only did he give a good first impression, not even good, great, amazing first impression, he had one hell of a WrestleMania match with the Architect. They showed great chemistry, and it would only get better for their matches. Charlotte and Ronda was a bit odd, but the main event was once again a positive of WrestleMania, because Stone Cold had a great brawl with KO. It was a success and almost surreal to see Stone Cold and Cody Rhodes on the same card. It was insanity. The second night, though, was not as good as the first. Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn had one of the funniest matches I've ever seen, and just the thought of Johnny Knoxville having a memorable match sounds weird. Then again, that's 2022. Sasha and Naomi won the tag titles and were supposed to go on a long run. We all know how that ended up. Edge and AJ's match was just there. It lacked the final gear to it, and that was the theme of this feud. It lacked the final touch to it. Sheamus and Ridge Holland disrespected the New Day so damn badly by destroying them in under 2 minutes. I should also note that the New Day were without Big E, because Big E unfortunately suffered a neck injury and it's still unknown if he'll return. It's very unfortunate because, for one, it left him sidelined. The New Day feels lost without him. And number 3, I think Big E would have helped the mid-card scene on SmackDown. It was the destruction of New Day. Then Pat McAfee turned it up with Austin Theory in a good match. His athleticism was on display for the world to watch, and to top it all off, Mr. McMahon decided to have a quick match. Why? Maybe because he knew he was going out? I don't know. For old time's sake, Austin dropped him and McAfee with a stunner. Amazing though. And then the main event turned out to be a huge disappointment. Roman apparently got injured during the match, but I doubt would have been better even if he wasn't injured. It was very dull, especially for a WrestleMania main event. You know, I was delusional thinking that the great build was going to lead to a great match, but it didn't. Following WrestleMania, WWE brought on new characters such as Gunther, Raquel Gonzalez, or as she was called then, Raquel Rodriguez, and Ezekiel. Ezekiel is by far the weirdest addition and led to a lot of funny segments involving Kevin Owens, who believed that Elias didn't have a brother. Cody Rhodes was by far the best thing in WWE at this point because of his passion. His promos were convincing. You felt that this guy wanted to win the title to cement his legacy. Roman was appearing less often and the attention was placed on the tag team division. RK Bro and the Usos was the biggest story at the time, and their matches were great. They kept it on lockdown in Roman's absence. The Usos turned into mini Roman and unified the titles, which also brought an unfortunate back injury for Randy Orton. To this day, he's still out. It allowed Riddle to take over and challenge the Tribal Chief for the belt in a good match. Edge, meanwhile, was forming his group, the Judgment Day, which didn't have the best starts. It felt inconsistent. 1 minute they're dark, the next Edge is insulting the city he's in. The Judgment Day needed some significant change, and that's what they did by kicking Edge out of his own group. It was kind of messed up, though, because he changed his look for this, and within a month they kick him out like Jazz from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Finn Balor turned heel, and since then he's never lost clean until Survivor Series. With Balor and Ripley at the helm, the Judgment Day was getting fixed, and bringing Dominic as a simp, I feel adds a bit, because he's clearly out of his depth, and his heat really helped the group. Mommy this, I'm better than Ray and Eddie. He's one of the best at heat because it starts from his look, that haircut, the I'm your mommy shirt, everything about him is unlikable. That's why it works. But the Judgment Day brought Finn Balor's career on the right path. You know, Balor right now, I feel like he's the most likely to win a world title, barring Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. He's probably the third guy out there from my perspective. I really feel they'll give him the title sooner rather than later. Cody and Rollins' program was getting heated. Their rematch was once again a success and established that Cody had Rollins' number. And to top it all off, they faced off inside Hell in a Cell. The match was a doubt a few days before the event because Cody suffered a pectoral injury, but he fought through it and put on one of the best babyface performances in a long time. This guy was under pain and distress, but he managed to beat the Visionary in a match he's never been in. It's by far my match of the year for WWE. Why? Because the storyline in which Cody, for his pride, refused to go down, even if he was going down in a fight, was amazing. It also showed that this man has to be WWE champion. I mean, if a wrestler was already overdoes something like this, they deserve it. It's a star-making performance and basically showed that Cody Rhodes was championship material. He was already, but this cemented it. And with that, he was gone. He beat Seth Rollins 3-0, a full sweep, and went out as one of the strongest wrestlers in the entire company. Which leads me to my next point. The WWE at the time suffered a huge problem with injuries. It was an epidemic, you know. Some stars were going away. Big E was out. Charlotte went away. Randy Orton was injured. Bayley was still out. Becky was going to be out as well. It was bad. And to make matters worse, Sasha and Naomi walked out after being disrespected. What kind of disrespect? Putting the attention on anything but the tag team titles disrespect. And the roster was somewhat shocked. Sasha and Naomi, we still don't know if Sasha and Naomi are going to return. Maybe it's down to negotiations. Maybe they want to pursue something else. We don't know at the moment. But then the biggest shocker of the year happened. Even more shocking than Cody and Austin's returns. Vince McMahon retired. Initially, he stepped down from CEO, but still had a hand in booking. Hell, at some points, he even came out like, look at me. Then he got exposed more for using company money to pay off women. And it got to the point where it was too hard to ignore, and he retired completely. It was insane because we all thought this guy would die booking the shows, but he's gone. We all thought Stephanie disappeared, which she did at the time, but it turns out she was preparing for something bigger. It made Nick Khan and Stephanie co-CEOs, and Triple H was the one who was going to book the shows. So the dream that everyone thought wouldn't come true, especially after what happened to NXT, came true. At this point in time in WWE, Liv Morgan cashed in and ended around this title reign. Austin Theory's push was hard as hell with Money in the Bank, but with the game in control, everything was about to change. And so began the Triple H era. The game wasted no time calling up a bunch of talent and re-signing those that were released. Hell, there was even a rumor of Triple H wanting to bring Swerve Strickland back. Every couple of weeks there's a new debut, return, and it's still happening. Dakota Kai, Mia, Yim, Carey, and Cross. He really wants NXT 2019 on the main roster. Do I like it? Well, the only area I feel needed work is the women's division. I will say though that of course a couple of signings are necessary, but this is why some called Tony Khan a return merchant. Now Triple H, it's kind of the same thing. One of his most improved areas, I'd say, is the in-ring action. The wrestlers get to wrestle longer and have better matches. We've had some classics in the last 5 months that Triple H has taken control. And there already was good matches, but these matches are even better, I'd say. Austin Theory, though, had to undergo a significant character change in the Triple H regime. He went from the golden boy to the guy that Triple H would make a joke out of. He even had him lose the Money in the Bank for a US title cash-in, which is so stupid, honestly. Like, that's how bad it got. This guy failed to cash in. Of course, this was all part of some longer plan that opened up Austin Theory to others. Bobby Lashley's face run, I feel, was very mistimed. He was doing very well after destroying Omos, and I thought a confrontation with the Tribal Chief was near, but he wasn't even close despite teasing. Instead, he's a heel now feuding with Brock Lesnar, which is doing him well, though. He's more aggressive, violent, and I hope their second match is a success. And even then, I will say that he brought respect and prestige to the United States title. It hadn't felt that way in years. SummerSlam was well received. Baylor returned with a new faction. Logan Paul showed exactly what he could do, and Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which was billed as the biggest match a couple of months ago, happened again. It turned out to be one of WWE's matches of the year, and the reason why the match worked well is because in a brawl-like scenario, it brought out the best in Brock Lesnar. And if I had to say there's a most WWE match ever, it's this. Tractor's ring was flipped over. It was wild. Like, literally, when we say wild, I literally mean it when I talk about this match, because it was just that. It finally gave the Brock and Roman feud a good ending, and if they do it again, which I hope they don't, I don't think there's a better ending than that. With Roman Reigns putting Brock Lesnar behind him, Sami Zayn was trying to get on his good side and become a member of the Bloodline. It sounded so random initially, and it still is, because look at Sami Zayn. 0 tattoos, his beard and hair is not lined up, and he wants to be a part of the Bloodline. The story brought a lot of interest back to the Bloodline and also added depth, and there wasn't really interest in the Bloodline. I'm not trying to say that. It felt like it was wearing a bit thin at some points, but now they have Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn. He's out here calling them Uzi, making them break character. You can see the performance having fun, and so do a bunch of us. It's leading to a huge story with Kevin Owens, who was slightly altered when compared to the Vince era. This man has always been used well. It's just now he completely abandoned the comedy aspect of his character, which I personally loved, especially how he would try to call out Ezekiel. It was funny and entertaining. With that said, we didn't talk much about the mid-card scene on SmackDown here. Ever since Gunther became the IC champion, his storylines have been compelling, especially his storyline with Sheamus. Their match at Clash of the Castle is widely considered to be WWE's match of the year. It was what everyone expected and then some, and Sheamus has been reinvigorated ever since his move to Raw in 2020. This only increased his stock higher. There's not enough words for how good that match was. His matches with Ricochet have been good, as was his match with Rey Mysterio, and there's just something about Gunther's stature and presence that attracts great matches, and in particular great stories. Remember when I said Triple H loves returns? He used QR codes to hype up the arrival of Bray Wyatt. It's kind of goofy, but QR codes really got the fans involved and really interested in the debut. And when Bray did make his long-awaited return, the crowd went insane. I don't know when he's gonna wrestle, but this is a man of first impressions. He really knows how to get the fans interested in him again, despite his issues over the years. The women's division on Raw, despite the injuries, was stacked. Bianca was going through everyone in sight, including Damage Control. Damage Control always got a beating when it came down to it from Bianca. Even Becky Lynch gave him a beating when she returned. As for Becky Lynch, her return brings the division a lot more. Her star presence is second to none, and we'll definitely see her as a champion sooner rather than later. But perhaps the most successful talent for 2022 is easily Bianca Belair. She's on a 2007 John Cena-esque run, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. She had a great run, great matches with the likes of Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bayley. She's really in her element at this point. SmackDown, though, is dry in this area. The division is so damn uninteresting and lacks stars, and it's been a huge issue since Charlotte disappeared. The talented challenges for the title aren't really credible enough for the most part. The roster is just so dull. Like, obviously there's a few names there, Liv Morgan, this and that, but in general, I don't know, like, there's not the element of threat on the SmackDown women's roster. In November, we got to see Roman Reigns face Logan Paul. It's crazy. And not only did Logan deliver in this match, which was kind of expected, but it was even better than that, but his brother Jake made an appearance, and it was every day, bro. Like, what? It's been a crazy year, and things have just slowed down because it's December. And by the looks of it, 2023 will be no different. Let's talk about some random thoughts. Let's talk about the Brawling Brutes quickly. I love the Brawling Brutes. At the end of the day, Vince McMahon knew what he was doing when he brought these guys together. Obviously, the Butch name was kind of dumb, but the tag team was a really great idea from him. These guys were so damn good that they didn't need to straight up turn face and got the fans behind them. Like, Brawling Brutes are easily one of the best factions in wrestling today because of who they are, They're these guys that just want to go out and beat up people, and they do exactly that. They're always aggressive, entertaining, and Sheamus really deserves a title shot against Roman Reigns for his work with the Brawling Brutes. The 24/7 title honestly didn't have the best year because, well, Triple H took control and basically forgot about it. I kind of miss seeing R-Truth because, well, R-Truth's entertaining at the end of the day. He got injured recently, which is sad, but whenever he was on TV, it was always fun. Rey Mysterio's year was terrible. This guy was getting bullied all the time. He's getting an ass kicking from his own son, I should note. He's being disrespected from everybody. Finn, Logan Paul, everybody was disrespecting this guy, and it doesn't seem to end. It doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. This man probably had the worst year out of any wrestler in WWE. Major, I should note. Dexter Lumis on TV has been very entertaining. Like, honestly, I loved everything about him. He's just bizarre. Just comes out, doesn't speak, this and that. I just like that storyline of his with The Miz, you know? It's not good, amazing, or anything like that, but it's just entertainment, you know? It's something you expect in wrestling, and I liked it. I like the Dexter Lumis character, and I want to see where he goes from here. Legado del Fantasma on the main roster is a huge W. These guys bring that, I wouldn't say star element, but they bring additional interest to the SmackDown mid-card scene. Zelina Vega with the Legado is a great choice. People were like, oh, Elektra Lopez, this and that, but Selena really fits them like a glove. And I just like everything about them. Hopefully 2023 is their year. Liv Morgan's year was solid. She became the women's champion. She technically beat Ronda Rousey. But at the moment, it feels like she's in limbo. You know, we don't really know where she's going to go from here, especially after losing the women's title. LA Knight on the main roster is great. I just love that guy. As a character, like, man, this guy's off the charts. His promos are out of this world. He's really one of the best promos in WWE. You guys remember when Veer was set to debut earlier this year? They were hyping him up. They're like, Veer's coming, this and that. It was random as hell. I barely remember Veer at the moment. When I start to think about it, I'm like, damn, it was actually this year. Then, of course, there's Omos, who had a long rivalry with Bobby Lashley. Then he feuded with Braun Strowman a few weeks ago as well. I don't know where he goes from here on, because that was the big match. The biggest match they could do for him at the moment. So we'll see. Drew McIntyre. There's a reason why I didn't talk about Drew McIntyre much here. It's because his year, I feel a bit disappointing. Not because of him. You know, he did what he had to do. He had great matches. Great performer all around. It's just, I feel like if things were slightly tweaked, his year would have been talked about a lot more. Because this was a guy that was hyped up to beat Roman Reigns for the title twice. People were expecting him to possibly win the Royal Rumble. Keyword possibly. And beat Roman at WrestleMania. That didn't happen. They're like, oh, Clash at the Castle. And it was very, very, very close. Amazing match with Roman Reigns. And probably would be in my top 5 if it wasn't for the finish. I feel Drew is a victim of timing once again, similar to Bobby Lashley earlier on. If it was anybody else, anyone else on the roster, he would have been champion right now. Let's talk about my top 5 matches. So I got Gunther versus Sheamus. This match is off the charts. You guys know why. Clash at the Castle. Big time atmosphere. These guys destroyed each other. It was great. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins is another Hell in a Cell. This is actually my match of the year for WWE because of the drama, the story itself with Cody Rhodes fighting with his all to beat the architect, the visionary Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam is another one of my favorites. The reason why I like this match is because this shows WWE at its best. Like, when you want to think of peak WWE, this is the match. You got two big-time stars in the ring, or outside of the ring, destroying each other. There's almost nothing better than that. Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38 was special. I thought it was WrestleMania match of the night, match of the show, I'd say. The intrigue this one had was almost second to none. And obviously the Cody Rhodes match had more intrigue to it, but this match, as a story, I feel had more intrigue because we didn't know if Bianca was actually going to win it. Like, I think we all knew she was going to win it. There was still that little doubt, and that's what makes this match special. And one of the other matches that I loved from this year, this might seem a little out of place, Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul Crown Jewel. This match shouldn't have been as good as it was, but it was. It was chaotic. I didn't want it to end. I loved it that much. Definitely one of my favorite matches from this year. Best moment, Cody's return. I mean, what else? Cody's return is where it's at. I just love that entrance he did at WrestleMania 38. Fans were all in. We all loved it. It was definitely one of the most special moments I've seen watching wrestling live. Best women's wrestler. I mean, this is obvious as day. Bianca Belair. Like, whoever, if I say Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, Ronda, I'd be lying. It's Bianca Belair. At the end of the day, she was the woman who held the Raw Women's Division on lockdown. She had great matches with the likes of Asuka, Becky Lynch, and her star presence is really good as well. Best promo. For me, Brock and Roman's contract signing. Like, it was very entertaining. You had Brock talking about how he's going to whoop their asses, and then Roman, he said something along the lines of, "You must have me confused, farm boy," and that farm boy line was so damn hilarious. Then Brock destroys the security. It really got me a bit interested in a WrestleMania match, which I wasn't really interested in at the time. I was like, damn, they're actually making me a bit interested in it. Now I'm going to talk about my top 5. This is top 5. You guys are going to know, obviously, who my best men's wrestler is by the end of it. So number 5, we got Gunther. Gunther's presence on SmackDown is special. This guy comes out, he feels like the final boss. This guy destroys everybody in sight. He looks like a badass. It's been a great year for him, but I hope that 2023 is where he goes higher up the card. I feel like he belongs at the top. Number 4, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, ever since his return, felt like the biggest deal, or one of the biggest deals. I know he was gone for most of the year, but his presence, his impact was out of this world. This guy comes in to defeat Seth Rollins 3 times. He's booked to beat him 3 times. And he felt the biggest babyface on Raw. He was the biggest babyface. It's just a shame that he got injured at the time, because I know they would have continued riding that momentum towards the end of the year. Number 3, Bianca Belair. The woman's wrestler of the year. Easily, I just explained why. Number 2, Roman Reigns, the undisputed number 1 of WWE. This guy has some insane star power. I know he didn't have a year as good as his 2021, But it still was a great year for him. You know, every time he appears, he feels like the big deal. He's the big-time ratings draw, everything. You know, when this guy appears on SmackDown, the ratings go up every time. There's a reason why, because he's got that star element to him. And number one, I think you guys know who this is. Seth Rollins. Rollins' year was absolutely insane. Everybody he faced, he made them look good. His matches with Cody Rhodes were out of this world. His feud with Roman Reigns was great for what it was. His feud with Riddle was good. Then he held the U.S. title, and it's just been an amazing year for him. If Roman Reigns wasn't the undisputed champion, Seth Rollins would have been WWE champion by now, for certain. This guy would have been the champion. He would have been ruling Monday nights. And he still is. It's just, I honestly feel like he deserves a title for all his work that he did this year. So overall, when we look at 2022, I'd say it was one of WWE's best years in a while. It's not out of this world. It's not amazing. I'm not going to act like, oh, it's good, this and that. But I liked it more. I liked it more than 2021, 2019, this and that. We'll see how the Triple H regime goes from here on. I kind of liked some of the stuff he did, but at the same time, I disliked some other stuff. But I enjoyed a lot of stuff from this year, and it's definitely decent. So, yeah. All right, what you guys think of WWE 2022? Please comment down below. And that's the first video. Make sure you hit the curb stomp on the like button, and perhaps the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.